Hi guys, how's it? Welcome terug. Today I have a very special guest all the way from South Africa. I found this gentleman last Saturday morning scrolling through getting ready for the game, and I see this Boer accent, this thick. He's having a beer. He's excited, and I'm like, dude, this guy is what we need for the Springboks, man. And so I sent him a little request, a little follow, and everything came out great. So yeah, man. Rugby Mal, you can find him on Facebook, man. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Keith, man. Thanks for having me. Hello, America.
No worries. Man. Yeah, cheers from Texas, man. It's a little early for me, a little later in the day for you. But, man, so we're about 5 days removed from the announcement of the 33-man squad for our Springboks to head to France. What was your initial reaction to the 33-man announcement?
Well, to be honest, I don't think there was too many surprises, except for the injured players, like Andre, Lucania, and Luri Jager. I'm very, very excited about the young blood coming through. If you take a player like Kanan Moody, Grant Williams, Mani Lepoc, there's also debutants that's not so young, but if they go like my patient will see, Andre Esterhuizen, he has to be there, and another man, Dion Forrie. If he gets the chance, as you also said, he's going to be on fire this World Cup. But I just want to quickly come back to Andre Pollard. Mark my words, I'm telling you guys, Andre Pollard will play in this 2023 World Cup. He will play there.
I have a tendency to agree with you on that one. I have made the statement lately that we're all playing checkers and Rassi is playing chess. And it's painfully obvious that that's what's going on.
Yes.
With all of that, I don't think you would be taking Andre on a trip to the other side of the equator if you didn't think he was going to possibly play. Now, when will we get to see him play? I have this strange feeling it's going to be the quarterfinal.
Well, I'm going to make a bold call. I'm going to say, and with that, I'm not saying that I wish injury on any of the players in the 33-man squad.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make a bold call. We will see Pollard on the bench for final warm-up match against
you think the All Blacks
back at Twickenham. Yes. It's a bold call, but I think we're going to see him there.
I think you might be right on that one as well. With I still have this tendency to believe that I think that they knew this already going into the Argentine match. That Andre was not going to be 100% going forward, and I think that's what we got. That's what we had Manny kicking to show, hey, if you have to do this is how you're going to have to win games. I mean, that's what we got. Pollard at the last World Cup, obviously, and I also have the tendency to think that, like, I won't lie, I didn't pick the Springboks in 2019.
No. The coaches only had 18 months to prepare them. Firstly, Rassi and Jog had only 18 months to prepare them. Well, at that time, Rassi was the head coach. 18 months. I think they started preparing for this World Cup when he came head coach. He gave it to Jacques Nienaber. He already won a World Cup. Why should he stay on as a coach? He can give it to his friend Jacques Nienaber.
I still think so. For me personally, not having grown up in South Africa, my very first Springboks game that I ever witnessed live was in New Albany, New Zealand. And this was you know what game I'm talking about?
Yes. The 57-0 one. Is that the one? Yes. Sad days for South African rugby under Alistair Coetzee.
who is now coaching next door in Namibia, and they are
That's great. That's great.
And it was crazy because I remember that game for a couple of reasons. One, I remember Evan was the captain. Evan captained the side at that point. I had been a massive off the clerk guy when he was playing with Lions. He was absolutely on fire.
I totally agree with you.
Alistair comes in and boots him off to the side. He goes overseas to make his coin. And I think that was one of the first moves that Rassi made when he came and took over the team, was he called Foff and said, hey, we need you here.
Yes.
And, we had Elton Yankees at fly half. Jesse Krill played that game. Sia was there. All the standard guys, and it was just a shellacking. But I don't want to digress from the original question. My personal reaction as well to the 33-man squad. Now, you have to take in mind, I'm trying to find some kind of coverage of it live. I find some lady who speaks, I think she was speaking Xhosa, was at it holding her phone up live. I'm listening to a bunch of Xhosa in the background. And, I know how it goes. I knew Sia was going to be last, Evan. All the guys that get called last. I think the biggest one was bringing in 4 scrum halves. Jaden Hendricks, I didn't think was going to make it.
Yes.
And then when they called Marvin Ori, that's when I knew, okay, Lute is not coming.
Yes.
So that was my initial reaction at that point with it. I didn't think it was a weak squad. I think maybe we as Springbok supporters expected maybe a curveball or two, or maybe something, but we didn't really get. Well, our curveball was no Andre or Lucanio. That was the curveball.
Yes.
Well, were there any guys that didn't make the injury or the standby list that you kind of said, hey, man, maybe we should have given these guys another look, a second look, in your opinion?
Sorry, just say the question again.
Oh, were there any guys that didn't make the 33-man squad or the injury list that you feel like, hey, maybe we should have given these guys a look as well?
Well, there's definitely 1 or 2 players. I'm a Blue Bull supporter in South Africa as well. And
listen, I already know it.
And there's a guy, if you follow South African rugby, he was actually playing for the Boks before, Marcel Coetzee. So, Marcel Coetzee has been on fire for the Bulls. He actually went over to Japan, play in their season there, and came back into the URC. They didn't want to allow him because he didn't play 2 or 3 games, so he couldn't play in the quarterfinals. But last year, he was on fire. And it was his captaincy that took us to the URC final. The first year that we played there, we played against the Stormers. Yeah, they won, and they had a good game on the day. But Marcel, I don't know why they overlooked him, or overlook him, because he's really a brilliant player.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. Obviously, you bring up the Bulls. I bring up like Johan Hussen, and then that was for me. And I think more than anything, it was more of like an afterthought when we didn't have Andre. It's like, well, why aren't we getting him? And he's already put time in the Springbok. But then he's injury prone, and I get that.
I wanted to say to you, Johan Hussen, very good player, but since he's been at the Bulls, he had 2 major injuries. So he's one of those guys you're going to take him over, and there's a 30% chance he's going to get injured in the second game he plays. So, but the other one is Ruan Nel. I don't know if you follow the URC, but Ruan Nel of the Stormers, he's an inside. I think he's playing outside center or inside center, but he's a very, very good center. So I would say, this year for the Stormers to be in the final again this year, he was one of the standout players. So I would have picked him and gave him a chance with the Boks. He's got sevens experience. He played for a Blitz Boks as well. So yeah.
I do follow the URC. My side is the Bulls out of the URC.
Thanks.
So I grew up a Lions fan. for Joburg, and then I was a Spurs fan for a bit when you had like Evan and all those guys there, and then I've pretty much always been a Bulls fan, just kind of on the side. I mean, I still remember the Super Rugby days with like Bucky and Victor and all like the champion. It was, those were the good old days, man. And then the collapse of Super Rugby. I'm wondering what we're going to do. The URC. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a joke. And the realization is the URC is much better than Super Rugby. At least
I totally agree with you.
I feel like we get more diverse, I guess, competition, but also it gives our players the ability to go up north and make that coin, make good money, but still come to South Africa and play. And I think that's the biggest benefit in my opinion.
I get it. The unfortunate thing is that the Northern Hemisphere teams that regularly play against South African teams tend to get better. They tend to get better because for me, you can never, you can't say South Africa is the number one Southern Hemisphere team. You always have the All Blacks on a good day. You always have the Wallabies on a good day. But I would say we are the core of how the Southern Hemisphere teams play. And we tend to give tips to, I mean, look at Ireland. They, I think they're close to favorites for this World Cup.
So I have an Irish colleague, and of course, obviously, where was Ireland ranked going into the last World Cup as well? They were number one as well.
We are the World Cup jokers, unfortunately.
Well, he even said it. He's like, he's not believing anything until they make it past the quarterfinal. And I mean, like, you kind of look at those, and it's kind of like, for me, like Kitshoff going north of the equator, Trevor Nakane is in France. Andre is north of the equator, and it's cool. I think it's a good benefit for those guys to make some good money when the rand is weak. And you also, like I said, you get to come back to South Africa on a fairly regular basis.
Yes.
It's not, I don't feel like they're like being traitors to like whatever. It's like, no, it's a job. You need to make money. Go make money.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Evan for going to France. Like, I get it. It's money. So we have a pretty strong pool here, obviously, with two other ranked teams. We're the only pool that can say that. We would be the pool of death this World Cup, which is the first time. 2007, we were in the pool of death as well with England, the defending champions. Which other team in our pool would you say Ireland is the team that worries you the most in our pool?
Well, I think so. Look, somehow, you need to learn from your old mistakes. And I think with how Ireland is playing at a moment, Six Nations champions, they went over to New Zealand. They won a series there. I mean, for the first time in history, a team went to New Zealand, and that shows you the character, that shows you the structures of Ireland at a moment. So I would really be saying that's the team that we have to look out for. But you can't write the Scots off. You can't. Dis die Skotte. Ons kan nie. So I mean, if you look at, I saw the lineup. I think there's 4 South Africans in the starting lineup for today's game against France. Duan van der Merwe, Finn Russell. Well, Finn Russell is not from South Africa, but Duan van der Merwe is. And I mean, I don't know if you watched the try on Twickenham.
No. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
I mean, he ran through like 9 guys and still went to score a try. South Africans is just built differently, huh?
After this whole John Klein thing, it's really making me begin to think like, hey, Duhan, do you want to come back home and play? I mean, it is making that a difference. I mean, I'm one of those guys. I was extremely critical of Jean Klein coming here. I was extremely critical. And then his very first, well, not even before the first game, you see his photo and he's got a black eye. and you're like, yeah, they're breaking him in properly. Those Tuesday full contact training sessions,
Oh,
and then he comes out against the Wallabies and absolutely plays amazingly, and you're like, you know what? He plays like a South African. He plays like a
it really does.
It's not a question that, for me, I do worry about Scotland just because how many SAU 20 caps does that team have? They have a lot.
Yeah,
They have a lot of South Africans on that team.
they do have.
Skoman, all these guys. But yeah, I do agree though. It'll like Ireland is going to be a tough game to play just because they can hurt you in so many ways. If they can't beat you on the front, they hand it off to that Maori kid from Ireland.
That's very good.
Off to their Aussie or whatever, and it goes out. What about the three other rugby championship sides? Which one? How do you think they're all going to fare in this? I mean, we saw Eddie Jones announce possibly the worst 33-man squad to ever leave that country. And then you've got the All Blacks riding on a high after beating the Wallabies, who he beat as well fairly easily 2 times. I mean, do you think that the Southern Hemisphere teams are going to continue what they've always done at the World Cup and always dominate? Or do you think there's going to be some struggles this time?
No, well, definitely. I think the Wallabies, I'm not even going to mention them. I think at a moment to leave Michael Hooper at home was a bold call from Eddie Jones, but I would take him into my team any given day. He's a workhorse. He doesn't shy away. And then, I mean, with the experience of Quade Cooper, I know it's not everybody's favorite, but I would have taken him with. Now he's got a young fly-half, first World Cup. We've got Mani Lebok, but we didn't left Pollard to choose Mani Lebok. We left Pollard because of the injury.
Yeah.
But I would say semi-finals, South Africa will be there, and also Argentina will be there. I think Argentina is a dark horse. Everybody tends to write them off, but under Michael Chica, the way they're playing, the structures, I mean, they played against us this year at Ellis Park, and I was sitting at the front of my chair and thinking, listen, we're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
We had a much better game in Buenos Aires, but I thought we're going to lose that game, and we played pretty much an A team in that game on Ellis Park. So I won't write them off. Yeah. I think. Yes.
Yeah. So Mario Ledesma, the former skipper for Argentina, coached here in Dallas this last year. I did an interview with him.
Sure.
And we talked about his relationship with Michael Chica because he was on the coaching staff in 2015 for that Aussie side that made the final.
Yes.
And he told me that the issues that Argentina is having are not the coaching issues. It's the country as a whole is not a big rugby country.
Okay.
With that being said, I think Michael Chica was coach of the year in 2015. I think Michael Chica is a hell of a coach. I think he is a good coach. And I think he's got that team. And I agree. That's going to be the dark horse. I agree with you 100%. I can see Argentina making a very, very deep run, especially with the likes of even the Bofelli, their winger, Montoya, Pablo Matera. I would take Pablo Matera like Michael Hooper any day. I would take Pablo Matera any day.
No, I agree with you. The other one is obviously I think we didn't mention New Zealand too much, but I think Ireland has France as well, but over the last few years Ireland has that physiological upper over New Zealand. I mean, what did I do with the series win? And if we can win Ireland and and France and New Zealand play out, I think the quarterfinal is going to be South Africa, France, New Zealand, Ireland. And Ireland has their number. I think they're going to fall short in the quarterfinal against Ireland. That's why I'm not too worried about the All Blacks.
I tend to agree with you. Like I said, I'm not buying that. This people have very short-term memory when it comes to the All Blacks. They don't realize they were ranked fifth a year ago.
They do.
They have played absolutely horrible out of their backyard. They're not a good road team anymore. I don't think that Bowden Barrett is what he was when he was Player of the Year back to back. I think Richie Mo'unga is good, but I don't think he's at that level. When you have aging locks with like Sam Whitelock and Brody Retallick, both greats, both legends, but they're old. They don't anymore. Yeah, and it's almost like, what are you bringing to this? They're bringing a lot of. I mean, we have some old guys. They're bringing a lot of old guys to this. I mean, Aaron Smith is old. Dane Coles is old. I mean, it's we've got old guys, but we're not riding our old guys.
No.
They're riding their old guys, and it's like.
I think what Ian Foster wants to do is he wants to take the same as what Graham Henry did that time, the 2011 World Cup, and he took those players to 2015. But you have to. There was the McCalls, the Carters, Conrad Smith, Manonu, Ben Smith. Those were. You can't compare them even with this team. So he's taking the risk because he took over from Steven Hansen. Took over, and I think he thinks that this is the team that's going to win. He's got a few debutants in there. I don't see them. I don't see them. We lost against them with our previous game. We lost against ourselves.
Yeah, no. Yeah, the All Blacks didn't beat us. We beat ours. No, 100% agree with you. I think he was handed the keys to what he thought was a Corvette, and it was actually a Hilux. I mean, both good vehicles, but the Hilux is not a Corvette. I think he thought that, like, hey, which we don't have the Hilux in America. We don't have that. So here, I'll do an even better one because I drive a Kia. He thought he was getting a Mercedes Benz, and he got a Kia. Playing Samoa and Tonga every year, it makes you look like you're driving a Mercedes Benz. You know, I mean, like, that's the All Blacks. Like, I don't have, like, do I hate them? Yeah, when we play them, I hate them to death. But I get it. I get the legacy of that program, and I'm not going to dog them out. They've won just as many World Cups as we have.
Well, they did.
You know, and they're a great team, but in the same respects, it's almost like kind of like, okay, anybody under the age of 40, that's all they know. That's all I knew. And then I had to get older guys saying, no, go back before 1990. It was the exact opposite. We beat them every time. Played them. It's like, okay, let me go back, and I see guys like, Nas Botha and Danny Harbour and like all these, and it's like, wow, they were beating the crap out of the All Blacks. And it's like, yeah, so it's a legacy since the professional era that the had. But you know, that being said, with that, yeah, I do tend to agree. I think it's going to be, as far as the Southern Hemisphere, it's going to be us and Argentina making deep runs. What are some of the key players that you believe on the Springbok side that are going to have breakout World Cups, are going to be those type of Andre Pollard from 2019, Brian Habana from 2007? You know, who do you think are going to be those guys that could possibly do that this time?
I think definitely Kurtley Arendse. I mean, he's already there with Habana with the amount of tries that he did and how many tests that he played. Look, this will be Dion Foury's last World Cup and first World Cup because of his age. But I think he's going to be on fire. I think he's going to just show all the doubters and the selectors that thanks for giving me the chance. I'm here to play. Definitely.
I think that first game that we see Dion dress for the World Cup, when the anthem is being played, I guarantee you he has tears rolling down his cheeks.
I agree. He's playing with so much passion and it's like a dream that he always wished for, and it finally happened on his age, and he
And I think
appreciates.
that's what it is. It's because it took him so long to get there, to finally get there. And that's why I agree. I think Dion Forty is going to play absolutely epic when he gets a chance, because it's like he knows this is it. This is my one and only shot. I want to go out. I want to hold that trophy up at the end of all of this. Go back home, maybe play a little bit of URC, and then I'm done. And then that's it for me. But I can say, guess what? I went to one World Cup and I won it. I think the other guy that is going to have a very breakout World Cup, which not to say he didn't do well last time, mark my words, best hooker in the entire tournament will be Malcolm Marks. Best hooker.
Totally agree with you.
Will be Malcolm.
I just hope that they don't put him on the bench all the time for the bomb squad. I think they must start him. He's by far. Look, Bongi Munambi, I like him as a player. When he was still at the Bulls, he went to the Stormers. I don't have a problem with him, but I think man to man, Marks is the better player. Unfortunately.
I think if you're a hooker playing this game anywhere in the world and you want to look at somebody who has that position nailed perfectly, you've got to look at Malcolm Marks. The lineouts are absolutely beautiful. The maul's off the. If there's a 5-meter lineout for the box and Malcolm Marks is involved, they're scoring. Like, it's a 90% likelihood that that ball's going across the line. It's touching down. And I've watched him. He's got his technique is so sound. And that's what I like about him the most. And then if it's not just that, if it's just open tackles, like he's just so sound with his technique. Like he knows how to wrap the body and pull properly. He knows how to get the bodies off the rucks. I mean, it's like he's just, dare I say, almost the perfect hooker in rugby. And I think he's going to be the best one of the entire tournament. I think our front row is going to do what our front row always does, which is dominate regardless.
The other player that I would like to throw in the hat is, I think Moni Lebok is going to surprise us all. People tend to see, and I'm one of them, complaining about the missed kicks. But Moni Lebok was the starting flyer for the Stormers in the 2 seasons of the URC that we started playing there, and he took them to the final. And he had some kicks. I remember it was, I think it was a quarterfinal or something, or a semi-final. We had a kick straight on the corner. There was a lot of conspiracy. He missed the kick, but if you looked slowly on the video, the kick was over. So he had some pressure moments with the Stormers. I think he's going to surprise us all.
I agree. I also have this just tendency to believe that, like, you see his expression on the pitch. Like, he is a focused competitor. It's always game face with Manny. I think in time, he's going to become one of the greats. He has that capability too. But with that being said, you know, he's got my support. Every time he lines up to kick, I'm there. I'm telling him, take your time, calm down, breathe. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like, I feel like if I was on the pitch, I was behind him in the stands, I would be telling everybody, shut up, quiet. Manny, take your time, you know, go slow, you know. It's just because it's like, you know, when you're that young, you want to be that guy, you know, over his shoulder telling him, you're doing a good job. Like, if I saw Manny in public, I would tell him, you're doing a great job, son. Keep up the good work.
Yes.
Just because he's a good dude. Like, you want to, like, succeed. It's like I said, this is the thing I've always loved about Springbok rugby over the years. Is like even the guys that were just absolutely just arsehole scary guys, you'd still like have a beer with them. Like Bucky Spota is crazy. I would have a beer with Bucky.
He's actually a chilled guy when he's not on the rugby field, but I think when he steps on a rugby field, he's like a bombshell.
Well, I watched a clip this morning of Eben Etzebeth on a soap opera in South Africa. It's like some nurses talking to. It was in Afrikaans, obviously, but I'm just like, I used to tell people, like, if you tell my kid, if you don't eat your vegetables, that guy's coming to get you. That is the boogeyman. Like, he is the scary guy. Like, if I'm walking down the street and I see him coming toward, I'm walking across the street. Like, he's just so massive and he's just so good. But at the same time, he's a great leader. You see him whenever he's talking to the boys. They listen to him. Everybody listens to him. Same with Sia.
Yeah.
Everybody listens to him. Same with Dion last week. That's what impressed me about 40 last week was when he became the captain, everybody looked at him for guidance.
Yeah,
Great.
I mean, he only made his debut last year, and they gave him the captain armband in the second half. So I was impressed with that, and also at the same time shocked. But well done to him. I mean, yeah.
We're going to skip over one of the questions on the list here just because I just don't want to talk about other teams' players. But do you have a favorite Springbok team ever, and what year was
Yeah, I'm going to quickly go through all three of them that won the World Cup. Because I can't choose one. Really, Kim, I can't.
Yeah.
So the first one has to be the 2019 box. With going into the tournament, they weren't favorites. Everybody wrote them off. Rassie and Jock, or Rassie at that time, had only 18 months to prepare them. And I mean, they shocked the world. No one thought they were going to win it. Everybody went for New Zealand. England knocked them out. England in the final thought we're going to play our up and under game. They totally changed the game plan. We ran over them, scored 2 tries, and I mean, yeah. So that's the 2019 box for you. Special moments in African history. You can never take it away. 1995. Everybody wrote us off as well, and I just wish I was older than I am. I wanted to be on that spot.
How old were you at that time?
Yes, yeah. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be.
How old were you in 1995? How old were you then?
4 years old.
Oh, wow. I didn't think you were that much younger than me, man. I was in high school when that happened, man. Sitting on a Chesterfield in Brampton, Ontario, man. Watching that game.
And then the last one, 2007. I mean, you can't go and not mention the Buckies, the Victors, the Abanas, the Juan Smiths. You can't. You can't not mention. Well done, man. Percy Montgomery, JP Peterson. I can name the whole team. You can't go. So I would say
Franz was on that team.
yeah, and he was in the 1995. That was his second World Cup. And Frans Steyn, remember? Frans Steyn was a Kane Moody now. He was what, 19 years old?
20 years old. Yeah, man, a kid. And yeah, for me, it was the 07 team, man. Like just John Smith, Osterrand, Bakkies, Vic, John Smith, Pierre Spies, Percy Montgomery. It was at that whole game against England when they blanked them. And it was just like, I knew at that moment, we're winning this World Cup. We're winning this World Cup. Like, there's no one who can stop us. And then even like the Tonga game where we fell behind, I think that was Andreas Pinar, who was the starting fly half. It was horrible, sand and everything. And we ended up having to send in our A team to bail us out in that. But like I knew in that tournament that we had even the try of the year that year was against us. It was a USA player that had a try against the Springboks in that tournament. That player actually lives not too far from me. He lives here in Texas. So I've thought about talking to him a bit, but yeah. And it looks like you have frozen up. Are you there, man? So we talked about favorite teams. Now we'll kind of get to the future here. And obviously, the next World Cup will be in Australia, followed by
USA.
Yeah, it'll be here in the US. Do you think South Africa will ever get to host another World Cup?
Well, I've got my hopes on that. Really, I do. I mean, we hosted a 2010 Soccer World Cup, which is much larger than rugby over the world, and successfully hosted it. Now, recently, we hosted the Netball World Cup. We hosted a sevens Rugby World Cup in Cape Town. So I think behind the scenes, I think our director of rugby, Rassi, the Mark Alexander, the SA president of rugby, I think they're working hard on it. I think we're going to shoot, and hopefully for the 2035 World Cup, the one after the USA.
I agree. I think at least in the facilities that I saw there, Polokwane had a nice little stadium. Obviously, you got Loftus there in Pretoria, Ellis Park, Johannesburg. Although, I'll tell you what made me cry. I saw DHL Newlands. Oh my God!
But Newlands is not. They actually. I'll send you some photos of Newlands. They're not playing any rugby there. They're gonna develop at but I mean the one Cape Town Stadium.
It's nice. It's very nice.
Beautiful stadium. We've got Soccer City in Soweto, Johannesburg. It's not a safe area, but I mean it's an enormous, beautiful stadium there.
So one of the last things I saw you singing the national anthem, and it was. We laugh about it. I mean, like for me, like, look, I'm from this part of the world, but obviously, I mean, my blood is green and gold when I hear the anthem.
That's off to you.
You get goosebumps. You do get it just because, like, it means a lot to a lot of people, and I think, especially in the times that we're in right now, like. That was probably the thing that made the 2019 win so even more beautiful was like when you would hear stories about Makazole Mapipi and his childhood and how it was bad. You hear...
Yeah, a tear on my cheek when I watched
Cheslin Colby, where he grew up, it was bad. Sia Khaleesi playing with a brick, it was bad. I mean, it's unfortunate that's a reality for a lot of South Africans, and I think when I hear that song, I think of like, hey man, there's hope for a better tomorrow. Me and my I'm engaged to be married. I informed my fiance last night. Our honeymoon, I want to go to South Africa. I want to take her to South Africa with me.
Well, you've got a place to stay.
She's a country girl. She's a country girl from a little small town in Oklahoma, but she's a city girl at the same time. And it's just, like when I'm riding in the vehicle, I don't typically listen to country music, but when I'm with her and we're driving, I listen to country music. You know what I mean? Like I drive a Kia. When I get this paid off, I'm buying a Chevy pickup truck. I mean, like I do like the country things. And I think for me, more than anything, it's just like, it's such a beautiful country, and I think everybody should visit at some point. there are problems like anywhere else in the world. But what I was going to ask you was, who would you like to see sing the national anthem before a rugby match? Is there any singer or celebrity that you'd like to see do that?
Well, I would say on a singing basis, Ilandre. He's a South
Okay.
African guy with a very deep, pure voice. So I would see him, and then there was a lady I wasn't aware of her, but I went to watch the rugby match against South Africa and Australia at Loftus Live, and she was singing the national anthem of Australia. Cordelia is her name, and yeah, goosebumps. So those are the two that I would love to see perform the national anthem. Yeah.
I would like to see, he's a bit of a, I don't know what, I guess that would be pop music, maybe there. Brandon Paper,
Oh yeah, definitely.
country music. I've seen him do it acoustically on a guitar, and it was beautiful. I have to say this: of all the stadiums that I've seen for the national anthem for Springbok games, Loftus is probably the best.
Yeah.
They
No,
really bring it at Loftus, man. Like, that's the ones that I'll start crying or I'll start goosebumps everywhere. Because for some reason, especially after the COVID lockdown ended and we had our first game there with fans, and it was just, and you just saw everybody so proud that, like,
yes,
hey, man,
definitely.
we made it through this. We made it through this. Like,
Oh,
together.
definitely.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, man. Where at in South Africa do you live?
I'm in Pretoria, so I'm
Okay.
not far. Yeah, I'm in Pretoria, so that's why I'm a Blue Bull supporter, and I'm not actually far from Loftus. I'm staying in Pretoria East, so I'm not far from Loftus. It's about, I would say, 20 minutes drive to Loftus Versveld. Yes.
Yeah. And it's not like Ellis Park. It's not in a bad neighborhood.
No, no, no.
Yeah, I've been to Loftus one time. I went for a Curry Cup match there.
Okay.
It wasn't a whole lot of people there, but there were people there. But with that being said, man, it's been a joy and a pleasure to have you on here. I will leave the link. You guys should follow this guy. This guy is probably, there's something about that jersey, man. Speaking of, one last thing I got to bring up. I have not gotten the new jersey yet. I tried to go buy it at launch. They wouldn't take my credit information. Like, my bank kept rejecting it because it was South Africa. When I finally got in touch with somebody, they were out of my size, which was fat boy. But what do you think? I see you're wearing it right now. Is this the new kit right now?
Yeah, no, it's proud of it. That's
Do
why.
you like it? Are you happy?
No,
Do you,
definitely. The reason why I bought it is for the collar. I love the collar that they brought in. I also have one like yours, the Japan one. So
yeah.
that was also a lacquer one geweest. But yeah, no, I actually like it, and I want to buy me the away kit one as well. There's a lot of people that makes jokes about it and stuff, and it's okay. We're South Africans, will always make some lacquer jokes, but um, but I want to buy myself one of those as well. It's a pretty jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely happy when they launched these. I thought, especially with Nike being the sponsor, which is not how we say it in America. We don't say Nike, we say Nike.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, Nike, that's an American company. I should be able to get it through. No, you can't even get it through Nike here. You have to go overseas. And yeah, I always try to get it every year. I have the 2019. I really like the British and Irish Lions kits that we had too. Those were really nice as well. But yeah, man, it's been a real joy to talk to you. I know it's about supper time there in South Africa. So we've got a few games on tap for the weekend. I'm probably going to try and watch at least a couple of them. But it's been a great pleasure to talk to you, man. Thank you once again.
Privilege as well. Thanks for having me, Keith.
So,
Rugby Mal.
yeah, Rugby Mal. We'll leave the link under the video. Give me just a second here.